Hello, Dallas, and welcome to 100 Yards of Football, sports talk radio brought to you by the Dallas Weekly newspaper. Each week, we bring you the best in sports coverage. Plus, here at the Dallas Weekly, we bring you all the best in Dallas-Fort Worth news. Today, we are talking about the Dallas Cowboys versus the Washington football team. And bringing this up to help me is the man who knows the most about the Dallas Cowboys, the NFL, football in general, and the history of the sport as any person I've ever met in my entire life. The man himself, Mr. Football, the encyclopedia of knowledge, Vincent Turner. How's it going, Vincent?
Thank you, sir, for your kind words this evening.
Yes, sir. I always love these talks about these football games coming up because it's a different type of season. It's an amazing season, and we've seen some really interesting things start to play out with the teams, things that don't usually happen during a normal season. So with that, we've got the Dallas Cowboys, and we've got the Washington football team. And between the two of those, they've both had their share of intrigue this season, let's call it that. Things have not played out perfectly for either team, but they both have seen some really interesting upside. So to go over that and just to really get in depth with that, Vincent, I'm just going to turn it over to you to talk about Washington versus Dallas. Vincent?
Well, basically, coming up this Sunday, this is a huge football game in the NFC East. Let me start with Cowboy Nation, as I always do. The first thing with Cowboy Nation, through all the drama, all the intrigue, through all the problems over the last, 48 hours, Dallas is still in first place. Monday night, they had a very disappointing loss to the Arizona Cardinals, 38-10. It seemed like the same thing that's happening all throughout the season. Poor defensive play. They're giving up big plays. They gave up 3 plays over 60 yards. No difference making in the secondary. Problems on the offensive side of the ball. Offensive line seemed real shaky. They've lost 4 starters. Ezekiel Elliott, who I think is still the best running back in the league, is struggling based on the fact the offensive line hasn't been blocking. Then the situation with the head coach, Mike McCartney. I'm going to say this today on Dallas Weekly. Coach McCartney, I think he can still coach. The guy's a Super Bowl winning coach, so I don't think he's lost any of that. For what has happened in the last 48 hours, some players coming out and saying some things in the media, I think from a Dallas Cowboys fan, being a Cowboys fan since 1966, when I was 6 years old, following Dan Meredith, Don Perkins, Mel Renfro, Cornell Green, this great franchise, for them players to come out, I think it was totally wrong and disrespectful. Like Coach McCartney said, if you have something to do, and the football team is going through troubles and trials and tribulations, come to him individually, man to man. But I heard another coach yesterday mentioned something that really stuck in my head. He said, you know what? Think about this. Dallas didn't make really no changes in the offseason. The same players that's the core of the Dallas Cowboys now, the same players that got Jason Garrett fired. So that really stuck in my mind. When I'm looking at this Cowboys team, granted you lost your best player, Dak Prescott. Granted you lost Tyron Smith. Granted you lost a lot of things. But at the end of the day, to be a great football team, it's all about leadership. And it's about the veterans holding the towel in the locker room. The Cowboys have 9 players that were first-round draft choices on this football team right here and right now. But unfortunately, there's something deeper in the problem. We can talk about the coaching. We can talk about the scheme. But what I think it is Cowboys' pride. This is a franchise in 2015 was the first franchise at $5 billion. 50 Hall of Fame players. Players that's going to go down in history when you talk about the Cowboys and the great organization, Roger Staubach, Tony Dorsett, Michael Irvin, Emmitt Smith, Eric Williams, Larry Allen, Cornell Green, Mel Renfro. We're talking about pride, the number 1 franchise in all of America. So the current Cowboy players right now, and when I hear a safety come out 2 weeks ago and say the defense play at 75%, that's alarming. Then the players coming out this week, stand up and be proud. This Cowboy Nation, this is the Dallas Cowboys. So the other night, when I'm watching the game, I saw there was still a lot of problems. But what I didn't see no leadership. To me, that's the problem. Now, out of all this, You still 2-4 in first place in the NFC East. Dak Prescott is now coming back to the door. So that means Andy Dalton and that offensive line and the people on the offensive side of the ball, you got to help him. And defensively, the Cowboys, when I look at it, you got to be more tackling. You got to know different schemes and recognize routes, back on the back seven. And most of all, one problem that the Cowboys have had over the years is at the safety position. In the last 7 years, the safety play has been horrible. And when you look at all the great teams throughout the history of the National Football League, teams that usually got great safeties usually be great teams. Can I say Ronnie Lott? Can I say Brian Dawkins? Can I say Ed Reed? Can I say former Cowboy great Dan Woodson? So I'm going to tell you, every week the Cowboys need a difference maker in the secondary. And there's a young man from Orange, Texas, by the University of Texas, Earl Thomas, is out there saying, call me. But going into Washington, this is, to me, the biggest game of the season. And I got a lot of confidence in Coach Mike McCartney. Is he going to get it turned around? The guy didn't win a Super Bowl with the Green Bay Packers not knowing what he was doing. And he had a very good player in Aaron Rodgers and made him pretty good. Regardless of what happened in their past, regardless what happened with Coach McCartney going out and doing his final years there, Aaron Rodgers became a pretty good football player under him. So that being said, on Sunday, the Cowboys go into Washington. Critical football game. But this is the key. Can the other players step up that's going to carry the mantle and carry Cowboy pride? Can Terrence Steele, he's an undrafted free agent, can he take the stand as a Terrence Smith? Can Ezekiel Elliott get better? He put it on himself, and I got a lot of confidence in him, and I still think the young man from the Ohio State is still the best running back in the league. And the defense. We got to stand up, man. When Alton Smith, who hasn't played in 2015, is the best defensive lineman, that's other people got to look themselves in the mirror. It ain't about Coach Mike Nolan. It ain't about Mike McCartney. It's about you, man. You're getting paid as professionals. It's about that Cowboy pride. When I've been following y'all ever since I was 6 years old, I'm 60 years old today. I cried when the Cowboys lost the Super Bowl in 1979 when Jackie Smith dropped that pass. But it's something that I want this football team to remember. It's about structure. In the greatest years of the Cowboys organization, it was in the mid-90s when that young man from the 409, Port Arthur, Texas, Jimmy Johnson, had a structure with this team. And on 3 Super Bowl teams that he had, well, he won 2 Super Bowls, but that team he put together from 89 and 93 won 3 Super Bowls. And think about all those players that was on that squad. Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin, Eric Williams, Dan Woodson, Jimmy Jones, Russell Maryland, Thomas Everett, James Washington. It was something about that team that it was about work ethic and it was about being the best at every moment. It was about Cowboy pride. And as Michael Irvin said, it's about winning. And you got to carry yourself as a champion on and off the field. And when Jimmy Johnson had that structure of the Cowboys, there was nobody going to the media. Cowboy Nation, we 2-4. We still in first place in the NFC East. But we're going against a Washington team. They reeling too. Ron Rivera's got problems over there. But one thing about them, they got a very good defensive line. They got 16 sacks on the year. They got some players over there. Chase Young, Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, Montez Sweat. And they got Kyle Allen, who seemingly played better last week. And they got a young receiver out of the Ohio State, Terry McLaurin, that can give us problems. But that said, I think this Cowboys team can bounce back. My thing is, take your pride and stand up. This is not a franchise. This is the number 1 franchise in all of professional sports. Stand up like the LA Lakers over there in the NBA. It's a different animal over here. So the players that's there, man, get out of the meeting and start talking about the coaches, man. It's all about you. And it starts defensively. I know you got talent on the defensive side of the ball. Don't let Trevon Diggs be the best player in the secondary. Come on, Jalen Smith, be a leader, baby. Come on, DeMarcus Lawrence, be a leader. I don't mean to call you out. I'm not trying to make no bones. I'm not trying to get no Instagram hits or views. I'm just saying because I love the blue. I love the blue and silver. It's Cowboy pride. We worth $5 billion, baby. We are the number one franchise in all of professional sports. Take us back to the Jimmy Johnson days. And let's start Sunday.
I will tell you this. No matter whether it's an up season or a down season, Cowboy Nation is ready to put it in and go to bat. And these are not some fair weather fans. And I'll tell you one of the biggest endorsements I've seen besides obvious, that you know so much about it. When we interviewed young Zach Hurst the other day, this is a man who is known as being one of the best people to pick winning teams. In his young life, he has become with a reputation that has nearly 400,000 followers on Instagram. His name is I Pick Wins. And what jersey was he wearing when we brought him on the show? He's wearing that Cowboys jersey.
Like I said, Jeremiah, the National Football League, you're going to have injuries. You're going to have situations when players move. They leave teams. That happens.
Yeah.
And when you look at the Dallas Cowboys, this football team here, it's too much talent, regardless if Dak Prescott got hurt or not. But it's a lot of talent on this football team. As I said, they got 9 first-round picks on this team. And I know the problems they've had defensively. Granted, maybe it's a hindsight. They should have re-signed Byron Jones, who's over there in Miami playing an excellent job, is doing phenomenal things with that team. That team is 3-3. But when I look at it, it comes a time you can say and put everything on the coaching staff. You can say this, but it's a time when the players have to take accountability. And all I'm saying, let's go back to the 90s when Jimmy Johnson was, and I'm not putting it out there, but the Cowboys have had a lot of coaches since Jimmy Johnson has left. You follow my drift?
Yep.
They haven't had no structure. But one thing about Jimmy Johnson, he set us up to being very nice. Dallas, with his years of building that organization from 1989 to 1993, Dallas should have won at least 4 or 5 Super Bowls. Should have won 2 more. But it was a certain thing about that football team is that it was a respect. Jimmy Johnson controlled everything. And he didn't have no players coming out. And his leaders, Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin, and this is why the quarterback is so, so important. The one thing, he had that young man out of Henrietta, Oklahoma, by the way of UCLA, by the name of Troy Aikman, that's doing a great job on Fox. He accepted none less.
Yes.
And that's why the Cowboys need to take a page off them teams from 89 to 93. And it started with the quarterback. Troy Aikman believed in perfection, and that's why the Cowboys won 3 Super Bowls during his time there as the quarterback. Granted, Dak Prescott is hurt, but there's too much talent on this football team. Number one, probably be 2-4. I understand the problems defensively, but that happens with injuries. But overall, I think Andy Dalton is a great backup. I think he can get the job done. True enough, they got injuries in the offensive line, but it bothers me when I see players going into the media as they was on Tuesday after the loss. When you look at it, you players are out there playing. No matter if the coach is divine, it's still on you. And you got to have respect, man. And that's all it is. And I'm going to be a Cowboys fan till the day I die. I believe blue and silver.
Yeah.
My father can tell you, Chester Turner from the 901, ever since I was 6 years old, I cried over this team. And this team has got some great history. Worth over $5 billion. So I don't have to say no more today. Let's get it going, Cowboy Nation. They got Washington on Sunday. And it's going to be a tough game.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough game, but we will be there. You are watching the Dallas Weekly, and our video is brought to you by 100 Yards of Football Sports Talk Radio with the host, Mr. Football himself, the sports encyclopedia, Vincent Turner. Vincent, what's your final word?
My final word, I'm gonna stay with the Dallas Cowboys from here to toe. And as I always say, and I leave this show, like the great poet Marvin Gaye out of Washington, D.C. On Sunday, I expect Cowboy Nation, as he say, let's get it on!
I'm with it. And we'll be watching every step of the way here at the Dallas Weekly and 100 Yards of Football. Make sure that you put into the comments what you think about Dallas versus Washington, and make sure to also let us know what do you want to see us cover. We cover NFL right now, but we also cover college. We cover local football in the high school level, and everything in between, including the draft and in football news. And one thing we do is we keep it statistical, we keep it historical, and we keep it on the field. So if you have anything that you'd like to see here on our show, make sure to hit us up in the comments below. And if you would like to share this video, make sure you share it on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, and over onto Twitch, including our new podcast that's on the Believe Podcast Network on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Was that, Vincent?
I got one more words I'd like to say before we end today.
Yes, sir.
My name is Vincent Turner, a.k.a. the baby boy and the only son of Chester and Inez Turner from the 901 Memphis, Tennessee. Go Cowboys.